I'm here with our tool guy, Joe Rotella. And Joe, we are making some amazing see-through designs, I guess is what you'd call them, right?
I think, because I think we're really used to working with wood as a substrate, but acrylic is so cool because you have that glass-like look, but it's so easy to work with. So we've made a bunch of things from cell phone holders to little tags and ornaments, and I thought we would make a big tag today.
Okay, so what you're holding does not look like acrylic to me. It looks like cardboard.
Well, acrylic will come with a paper backing sheet on both sides, and it's best to work with that backing sheet left on.
Oh, okay.
Because otherwise you could scratch the surface. So I've got that, and I'm going to just draw a tag shape, and I'm using...
You're not really drawing.
No,
I was going to say you're tracing. And of course, this would be an easy thing to do with any design. You could simply trace it, transfer it, whatever you wanted, to the paper protecting on the acrylic.
Be careful, though, not to use a permanent marker because it could go through the paper and actually stain the acrylic. So pencil's better. And then I'm going to go over here to the scroll saw.
And I'm going to put on my safety glasses, and of course you're already wearing glasses.
We have a vacuum port. It's going to suck out the waste, so we... Look at that. How cool is that? So let's go ahead and start cutting.
Now, is there anything that special we need to think about when cutting acrylic as opposed to wood or foam or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We need a blade with a high TPI, which is teeth per inch. Around 34 is what this one is.
Well, I was going to say, that blade is so small also that for a minute I was like, blade, that looks like a string.
And you also want to cut at a pretty low speed, because if you go at a very high speed, it generates so much heat that it actually cuts, and then right behind it, it welds back together. It melts back together.
Oh, really?
So you can see here, I'm just going up that side.
I was going to say, you're being very careful and methodical, and I noticed that you are slow both when you're cutting forward and when you're slowly going backwards to back it out.
Absolutely. So we're just going to finish this cut.
Are there any tips about when you're cutting acrylic? You need to think about like how to cut a straight line or a curve. Is it different than any other material, or is it exactly the same?
Well, I will say it takes a little bit of practice. It's kind of like working with a sewing machine. You know, getting those straight lines and curves is a little tricky. So you can see here I went in one direction just to get to this point where I could kind of connect it to another line.
I see.
And then take that whole piece out.
And that's how you're getting that. That is so cool.
Now, I'll just go ahead and take off the end really quick here, but again, nice and slow.
And I also want to point out that the order that you're cutting this in is you're doing your longer sides and then coming in to get those angles. You're not trying to go in a single straight line to get everything and make a hard turn.
I love that part. And then we can go over here and drill a hole in it so that we could use it as a real tag.
Okay, you obviously have a block of wood under there.
That's supporting the bottom of the piece. But acrylic, look how easy that drills.
I was going to say, like a butter, it goes right through.
But now to decorate it, we could attach vinyl, we could do all sorts of stuff, but let's engrave it.
Okay, now I have a little one here, which we've already taken the paper off, and it's obviously a slightly different shape.
Yep, a little mason jar.
And then I'm just going to go ahead and turn on the engraving tool.
So we have an engraving bit in there, and you hold that just like a pencil, and you're basically just scratching the surface.
I have to say, this is so fun, and this is actually, I've never really used one of these before, but you told me just go fast and think of it like drawing.
And I would
with
practice
a pencil.
first on some of your scrap pieces before you decide to make the perfect piece.
I know, this is my heirloom perfect piece. Well, I love just the freeform, and I also love the fact that I can like just go back and forth a lot in a single area. And I'm actually gonna almost like making it matte, or I don't know how to describe it. It's like that look of like frosted glass where an entire area is kind of filled in.
And you can combine the engraving with other sorts of decorating. So this would be a good example to say engrave on the front because you wrote your name front side up. But we could put vinyl on the back, and the vinyl would look like it's on the back side of that piece.
So cool. Now, can you engrave both sides, or you can only engrave one side?
No, and it'll look slightly different from the front if the engraving is done on the back side.
Oh my gosh, it totally looks like I painted white in there or something. I'm overly excited, Joe. I'm overly excited. This is awesome. And of course, I can see that you can cut so many different shapes. Scallops, this looks like a little baby onesie or something like that.
And put a keychain holder through it or tie twine through it to make a
Can you show us how to just peel the paper off here? And while you're doing that, I'm going to cut a little bit of twine to decorate my tag here.
The peeling is tricky. You could take this shape, especially if you're careful and get it off as one piece,
Okay.
then scan it on a sticky mat so that you could use it with an electronic cutting machine and make patterns that exactly fit the piece you cut.
Double
Because
duty.
the odds of you taking it and cutting exactly on your lines is a little bit slim. So why not use this as a pattern?
As a template.
Right.
And you could do that if you're cutting by hand too. You just trace around it again
Absolutely.
or whatever else. But here you go. I have my Christmas ornament all ready to go, or my gift tag or whatever it is. Super cute. I can totally see this for a baby shower or something like that, you know?
And look at how on the cell phone stands we made, it looks like glass.
Yeah, and now let's look at some of these different examples. I would just like to point out one of the coolest things I thought you did is this has vinyl, right? And so you put vinyl on the front and vinyl on the back, and what that does is create some sort of depth. Now talk to me a little bit about the fact that these are standing up by themselves here.
Well,
what did you do to make that?
How cool is this? It's actually two pieces, and this tongue slides into the groove, and it makes a cell phone holder. And the holes are in it to hear your speakers. And I use this. I never thought I needed a cell phone holder until I got Pinterest in the kitchen, because now I have my recipes up while I'm cooking, and I just love it. I never would have needed one, and FaceTime with my nieces, so that's pretty cool.
That's a great idea. Well, I'm going to take one of these home with me. Thanks so much for offering. And I hope you'll give acrylic a try. It's clearly a good idea.